TASS news agency is also reporting that, well, finally someone official from from the West, in this particular case from US, said their basic truth that nuclear weapons previously held by Ukraine was never Ukrainian and always belonged to Russia, right? The nuclear weapons with once Soviet Union collapsed, obviously. So nuclear weapons which Ukraine had on its territory and give up after the breakup of the Soviet Union belonged to Moscow, not Kiev. US Special Presidential Envoy Richard Grenell stated, "Let's be clear about the Budapest memorandum. The nukes were Russia's and were leftovers. Ukraine gave the nukes back to Russia. They weren't Ukrainians. This is an uncomfortable fact," he wrote on X social network. The Budapest Memorandum was signed by the leaders of Ukraine, Russia, and the United Kingdom and the United States on December 5th, 1994. Under it, Ukraine disposed of its nuclear arsenal, while Russia, the US, and the UK issued security guarantees to Kiev to be later joined by France and China. Speaking at the Munich Security Conference in February 2022, Zelensky speculated that Kiev may reconsider its obligations under the 1994 Budapest Memorandum, which stipulates the Ukraine rejects nuclear weapons in exchange for guarantees of security. Later, Russian President Vladimir Putin said that the emergence of even tactical nuclear weapons in Ukraine would pose a strategical threat for Russia. And, well, by the way, there are plenty of talks about this Munich, memorandum, Budapest memorandum, by the way. And Western propaganda is trying to push this false narrative that Russia did not honor it, this memorandum, this agreement, although in reality it's the West that did not honor it, this agreement, and the Kiev itself. In 2008, when NATO issued the invitation for Ukraine and Georgia to join NATO, this anti-Russian military alliance, well, that was it. Budapest Memorandum was no longer in force, right? That was it, by the way, end of that memorandum, when NATO officially issued the invitation for Ukraine to join NATO. And after coup d'etat in 2014, all the questions were answered. If anybody had any questions in regards to this memorandum, then if 2008 was not enough, then after 2014 coup d'etat that was orchestrated by US in Kiev, well, no question should be left, right, unanswered, because that was a clear demolishment of that Budapest memorandum when US implemented this extremely anti-Russian Nazi and fascist terrorist regime in Kiev. That's it. And when it comes to nukes itself, that after collapse of Soviet Union, Russia took back from this so-called Ukraine, from territory of this former Soviet Republic. Well, those nukes, as I said, in the very first second that Soviet Union collapsed, those nukes become Russian nukes, because Russia is the only successor, legal, legit successor of the Soviet Union. And Russia had honored all the obligations of the Soviet Union, including debt that Soviet Union had, all right? And Russia honored all the other agreements of Soviet Union. And Russia replaced the Soviet Union in a UN Security Council among permanent members, right? So for me personally, this was never a big deal or confusing topic, because it was so simple, isn't it? It was never Ukrainian nukes. It was Soviet nukes that after collapse of Soviet Union automatically become Russian nukes. But yet again, I mean, when the Western ruling class, Western propaganda, and so-called media cared about the truth? Never, right? Literally never. That's how it is, man. And therefore, unfortunately, vast majority of public in the West that is brainwashed by their Western propaganda probably really believes that Ukraine had at one point nuclear weapons, and they give up it because, I mean, they were, so nice, they were all about peace and stuff. Really? They never had no nukes, for God's sake, man. Anyways, it is good that at least someone, some official in the West is openly saying now that yes, I mean, we should face this truth that Ukraine never had no nukes, it was a Russian nukes always. Hello everyone, if you find this video informative and interesting, if you like my work in general, please consider to support this independent media project from Russia. You can do it through several means, through PayPal with donations, or by subscribing to my Patreon and Boosty pages, where you can have access to full news updates. Links are on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. Thank you.